Hello everyone, my name is Trevor Gordon. I'm the communications person with Canadian Epilepsy Alliance. Today we are going to interview a person named Meera Estrada. She is an Epilepsy Toronto ambassador. I would like to share a few highlights of Meera if possible. As a creator, executive producer, and a co-host of Cultured weekly culture show, Meera has interviewed over 250 entertainers and artists. She writes a weekly culture commentary column for Global News. Meera is also featured regularly on numerous television programs, including The Social, CTV Your Morning, Global News, and much, much more as a beauty and culture expert. As I mentioned, she is also an Epilepsy Toronto ambassador. And personal for me, she's also been amazing in the sense of putting a spotlight on the Epilepsy Ontario Epilepsy Shop campaign, promoting Epilepsy Shop on behalf of Epilepsy Shop, Epilepsy Ontario, and of course Epilepsy Toronto. So we would love for her to join us. I'm just waiting for her to send us a request to join when she has a moment. And I think there she is.
Morning.
Good morning. I think you're cut off a little bit.
How's that? Is
Uh,
that okay?
you might just want to move your screen. Oh, there we can see your eyes now. You're cut off.
Better?
Better, better. Yep. There we go.
Move the back a bit. Okay.
I experienced that myself. I had a perfect shot, and then when the boxes went apart, my whole forehead got cut off. But now we see you.
Okay.
How are you?
Awesome. I'm okay, thanks.
Thanks for doing this with us.
Sure.
You have a long bio of amazing highlights.
Thank you.
So my first question to you is, because I read even half of your beautiful tons of highlights and experience, do you ever sleep?
I do. Actually, sleep is a big thing for me because I have epilepsy, and so probably my two biggest triggers are sleep and lack of sleep and stress. Not the perfect combo for this industry, but make it work.
Well, you beat me to the punch for my next question. I was basically going to ask you, I mean, you do a lot for the epilepsy community with your ambassador work with Epilepsy Toronto, Epilepsy Ontario, the shop. What is your connection to epilepsy? So you mentioned you have epilepsy. When were you diagnosed? Have you had it your whole life? If you'd like to share any of that, please.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so I was diagnosed 16 years ago now in my late 20s. I'm 45 now. And it sort of just came out of nowhere. I was on actually a vacation on a cruise with my then boyfriend, now husband, and that's when I had my first grand mal seizure. And since then, I've probably had over 22, 23 seizures. Uh, I just hit my 1 year milestone seizure free, and then unfortunately last week I had another grand mal seizure. So the countdown begins again.
Why do you think, like, I mean, again, because before we started this stream, I took really a moment to go through your website and I was reading all your accomplishments, all your highlights. Why do you think it's important for you yourself as a public figure, a celebrity, to create epilepsy awareness? Not just because of your personal, obviously, connection to epilepsy, but why do you think it's important to use your platform for creating epilepsy awareness?
I I mean, I think it's important because so many people, there are so many myths and misconceptions and stigma. That's part of one of the goals this year is to, it's hashtag end epilepsy stigma, because people think that you would be a certain way, you can't do certain things, and everybody's journey with epilepsy is different. I mean, I have probably the most severe type of seizure. I have grand mal seizures, but I am still living a very full life, and I want to, especially young people, like I want children and I want parents of children and even people like myself to know you can still do all the things. You have to make uh, revisions. Like I have to make sure if this morning I had a really early TV shoot, I had to make sure I went to bed extra early. Like there are things that you can do, manage your health, manage your diet, but you can do anything. And I think when I speak about it and I'll get a message from a young child, like I've had like 12, 13-year-olds reach out to me because I've spoken about it, and I'll pick up the phone and call them. I think it even just one person to have them feel like they're not alone and yes, they can do everything. I think it's really important.
You're really good at predicting questions because that was another question I was going to refer to. You had a 13-year-old girl reach out to you through Epilepsy York Region that I read about. Do you want to expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, so I mean, this girl was phenomenal, and actually, her mom reached out to me first, and she told me the situation that her daughter had just been diagnosed, and they were sort of, it's really, really scary. I remember my whole first year was scary. The medications, starting new medications, the side effects, and so I actually said, you know what, I'm happy to speak to your daughter. So, her and I had a great chat, and I told her a bit about my journey, and teen years are hard as it is. They're really difficult years to navigate. And so I think just having somebody reassure you that you will get through this, yeah, it will be a tough time in the beginning, but you will get through. You'll find ways that you can um, cope and manage and do like I want people to know you can do it. You can do all the things. Don't let this be a limiting factor. I remember when I was first diagnosed, my mom, said, maybe you shouldn't work anymore. Work is very stressful. And on the other hand, I had my dad saying, you know what, you can do everything. And I sort of went that route. I can do everything. I have to do things differently. And I told this young girl as well. I had a conversation then with her mom and dad. We've kept in touch since then. And I've had like several people reach out to me over the years. And I think it's really important for them to know that they shouldn't be stigmatized. I remember being at an epilepsy event once, and somebody said to me, "Hey, you don't look like you have epilepsy." And I said, "Well, what does a person with epilepsy look like?" And it's very much an invisible illness.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people here in the epilepsy community will say, that epilepsy is not a rare condition or a rare disease by any means, but it is hidden. But I mean, over 300,000 Canadians have it. This is not a rare disease by
Exactly.
any means.
1 in 100, that is a big number, right?
Yeah. I have one thing that again intrigues me just about you and what you do and your platform is I know many public figures. I'm assuming you know the same celebrity that might have epilepsy, but maybe they're not ready to talk about it, or they might be ready to talk about it, but they keep it away from social media. Whereas you're not afraid. Like I took a moment before we started to kind of comb through your Instagram feed, and throughout, you're not just posting something on Purple Day and call it a day. You're constantly sharing your story. You're creating awareness. You don't walk away from it. You're not afraid. What would you say is sort of the difference between you? I'm not here to force people to talk about it if they're not ready to talk about it, but it seems like maybe they might be embarrassed to talk about it for their Instagram cosmetics, so to speak.
And I mean, I think that's the whole thing about this ending stigma. Like when we talk about it, people can be more comfortable with it because a lot of it is a lack of awareness. People aren't um, aware of what epilepsy is, and even that there's different types of seizures and what to watch out for, or even how to help somebody that's having a seizure, whether it's a grand mal or if it's a partial seizure. And I think the more that we can speak on this and educate people, I think that is part of my duty. I feel like I need to speak about it. I shouldn't be embarrassed about it. I think if somebody had cancer, there's no embarrassment in that. This is nothing of their fault that this happened. And I'm not quite sure why with this illness there is shame around it, because there shouldn't be shame around it. You know, this is something that's happened to me. This is something that happens to people. We're not sure why. The brain is so complex. So why should we have shame in it? I want to speak openly about it because I want people to feel like they've done nothing wrong for this to happen to them.
What is something that maybe frustrates you media-wise or news segment-wise about what is said or maybe not said about epilepsy?
So I think there's such a people hold on to these, you know, myths and wives' tales. I remember even doing a segment, maybe a TV segment a few years ago, and somebody had asked me, so what about this whole thing with putting the spoon in the mouth? Like that is like such an antiquated idea and a wrong idea, but it's something that people who aren't aware think that this is how I should help somebody having a grand mal seizure, right, or tonic-clonic seizure. So I think people hold on to certain ideas, even the way they name seizures, they call them fits, and like all of these different things. It comes from a lack of education and ignorance, and I think it's my job, it's all of our job to educate people.
Yes, I appreciate you saying that. What is something you would tell a person about epilepsy that you wish someone would have told you early on? You're an expert. I mean, we learn about epilepsy every day, but all the knowledge that you have now about epilepsy, is there something that kind of sticks in your mind that you wish someone would have told you at the start of this process?
Yeah, I wish somebody would have given me the reassurance that when you first are diagnosed, it is a scary journey, and to be okay with that, to understand that if you have to be medicated, there are side effects. And for me, medication was always very tough. It takes me a very long time to titrate up to the medication I need, but to stick with it and to go through that journey, because when you find the right medication, things do become a lot easier, a lot better. And so I think being very vocal, especially, I wish somebody had told me be more vocal. Don't be embarrassed about side effects that are happening to you. So you can find the right medication, so you can get the right help.
March is Epilepsy Awareness Month, as both you and I know, and it leads up to Purple Day on March 26th. I was reading on your social media that you attended the global 50th anniversary, and something happened for the first time in 13 months. Would you like to share that story with us?
Yeah, so that was a tough one, because anyone that has epilepsy, you know, people reach out to me all the time like, oh, I made it to this milestone, and we count down. And when COVID happened, I mean, a lot of stress happened, a lot of lack of sleep. My seizures I had gone from 1 to 2 years seizure free, because suddenly I was having seizures monthly. And so I had to change medications. It was a very long ordeal. And then finally I got to this point where I made it to 13 months. And when I made it to the year, I was ecstatic. Like, I was so happy that I've come to this milestone. I'm on the right medication again. And then I didn't even, it was the first time in a year that I didn't count down when I got to the 13 month, because I thought, you know what, maybe this is behind me, at least for a little while. Maybe I don't even have to think about this, because anyone that has epilepsy knows it is always in the back of our mind. And so when it happened, it was just last week. It was last Wednesday. I was just making a cup of coffee, as I do every morning, and I had the seizure. Luckily, my husband heard, and he flew down the stairs, and he actually caught me before I hit the ground, which was very lucky. And I had the seizure in his arms. And for me, it usually takes, with the tonic-clonic, it's a massive headache all day long. I need to sleep for several hours. And then it takes about a week to get back to normal. Like, I'm just getting back to normal. But I had planned to go to this global 50th anniversary. I worked with Course full-time for 18 years. I wanted to be there. And so I pushed myself, I slept all day. I got myself ready and I went there and I didn't tell anybody what had happened. I just wanted to be in that moment. I didn't even stay for very long. I probably stayed for an hour and a half. But for me, that was something I wanted to prove to myself. Keep going. You can do this. And everybody is different, but for me, I just want to move on, continue with my life. And I will be very safe about it. Um, but that is something that helps me is every time I fall down, I make sure I get back up.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Would you like to expand? You're an Epilepsy Toronto ambassador. What does that mean? What do you do with Epilepsy Toronto? Brag a little bit about all the hard work that you do for the epilepsy community in Epilepsy Toronto.
Um, it's actually the other way around. I mean, I reached out to them because, a lot of times we do feel alone in this journey. And I'm happy that I now have a community that I have that can support not only epilepsy is a family disorder, right? So it not only affects me, it affects my children. It, affects my husband. And I think about there was one particular incident when I overheard my son, my young son, a 10-year-old at that time, telling my husband, Daddy, I practice running up and down the stairs, so if I need to, I can save mommy. That is a lot for a child to carry. And so I'm glad that Epilepsy Toronto and all of these organizations have resources for children because it affects our children as well, not only the children who are going through epilepsy, but ones who have family members, whether it's siblings, parents. And so I think they've done a lot for me and for my children. And at the least I can do, I'm part of their communications committee. I have to say I'm very bad. I miss a lot of the meetings, but whenever, because I'm in the public eye, whenever I can speak on it, I will. On Purple Day, I'm going to be on Global News National speaking about it. And I'm very happy to speak about my personal journey for people to see the person. I'm more than epilepsy. I am a person, a multifaceted person.
So yeah, I would like to maybe say that even last part again, so we can even clip it after. So on Purple Day, you're going to be doing what exactly? So we can encourage the whole epilepsy community to watch you on that particular day. Please give us a full, clear plug for that.
For sure. So on Purple Day on March 26th, I will be on the morning show on Global, airing nationally across the country, sharing my experience and how all of us can be part in raising awareness, educating ourselves, and showing our purple.
Amazing. As we wrap up, is there anything else you would like to tell the epilepsy community? Anything to encourage, sharing their story, whatever you would like to say for your last words?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it is just know that there is nothing to feel ashamed about in this. If anything, we are warriors. We are strong people who are going through a personal journey which so many people know nothing about. And we are thriving, we are surviving, and we're not alone in this. And so please don't ever feel alone. Please reach out. There's amazing organizations right across the country. Reach out if you need support. And we got this. We are together and we have this.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you. Well, more importantly, thank you for everything you do for epilepsy. Well, I don't need to thank you for all the work you do for Epilepsy Toronto, but thank you for everything you do for Epilepsy Toronto, the epilepsy community, just putting a spotlight on epilepsy. As we both know, epilepsy needs to be spoken about more than it is, and with people like yourself, you're helping that. So thank you, thank you, thank you for all the work you do for creating epilepsy awareness.
Thank you.
Thank you, and have a great day.
You too. Bye.